Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 13, text number 35. Madhukara Maha Sarpao Loke Asmin No Guru Tamao Vairagyam Paritosham Cha Prapta Yat Chiksaya Vayam Madhukara Mahasarpao Lokesmino Guru Tamao Vairagyam Pariksam Cha Praptaya Chiksaya Vayam Madhukara Mahasarpao Lokesmino Guru Tamao Vairagyam Paritosham Cha Praptaya Chiksaya Vayam Madhukara Mahasarpao Lokesmino Guru Tamao Vairagyam Paritosam Cha Praptaya Chiksaya Vayam Kara, bees that go from flower to flower to collect honey. Mahasarpao, the big snake, the python, which does not move from one place to another. Loke, in the material world. Asmin, this. Na, our. Guru, spiritual masters. Utamao, first class. Vairagyam, renunciation. Paritosham cha, and satisfaction. Prapta, obtained. Yat shikshaya, by whose instruction? Vayam, we. Translation. The bee and the python are two excellent spiritual masters who give us exemplary instructions regarding how to be satisfied by collecting only a little and how to stay in one place and not move. There's no purport. We'll go on to text 36. Navairagya sarvakamibhya shikshito me madhuvratat kritsha tam madhuvadvitim hatbhavyanyo haretpatim. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. From the bumblebee I have learned to be unattached to accumulating money. For although money is as good as honey, anyone can kill its owner and take it away. Purport. The honey gathered in the comb is taken away by force. Therefore, one who accumulates money should realize that he may be harassed by the government or by thieves or even killed by enemies. Especially in this age of Kali, it is said that instead of protecting the money of the citizens, the government itself will take away the money with the force of law. The learned Brahmana had therefore decided that he should not accumulate any money. One should own as much as he immediately needs. There is no need to keep a big balance at hand, along with the fear that may be plundered by the government or by thieves. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshum Militam Jina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kurtavachalam Bangullang Hayate Grim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shigaram Dinataranam Vanchakapatubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavaneva Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As it's stated here, money is like honey. And practically everybody is attracted to this honey-like money. But it causes a lot of problems. Someone collects a lot of money, makes a lot of money, and then he's in fear. It'll be taken. In the Vishnu Purana, it's stated that the materialists, they're interested in gain and loss. They want to gain a lot of money, a lot of things. And they're very concerned about not losing anything. And therefore insurance is a big thing. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, insurance. This protects their wealth. So a devotee is also interested in gain. We want to gain Krishna. We want to gain Krishna consciousness. We want to learn how to always think of Krishna. We want to gain association with the devotees, nice friendship with the devotees, and compassion. We want to gain compassion for all living entities. So we also want to gain things. And we also are interested in losing. We want to lose our false ego. We want to lose our material conceptions. But what we don't want to lose is our Krishna consciousness. In this sloka in the Vishnu Purana, it says that the greatest loss is one moment in lack of Krishna consciousness. One moment. Therefore, Prabhupada used to say it so many times, don't waste time. Don't waste time. And Chandaka Pandit says you cannot buy back 1 second. With all the crores in India, you can't buy back 1 second. Time is very valuable. So I heard this so much, so I decided to calculate how many seconds are there in a day. 86,400 seconds in a day. And we shouldn't waste one of them. Of course, we have to take rest. We have to rest the body. A large amount of seconds are used there. But in our awake time, we shouldn't waste it. Now it's so many ways that we can waste time. So we have to be very careful. Utilize our time properly. People are wasting so much time trying to accumulate wealth. There's one pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya was speaking about this one astrologer, Sarvagya. And he would go around villages and do people's astrological charts. He went to one poor man's home and he was lamenting, he's so poor. So this Sarvagya, he told this poverty-stricken man, don't lament. A great treasure has been left for you. Oh, really? Yeah, great treasure has been left for you. But when you go to get this treasure, be very careful. Because if you dig, in the southern section of where this treasure is, you're going to be harassed by so many bees. And these bees are going to attack you and you'll not be able to get this treasure. Just like in this verse here, it's mentioned that the bees, they collect so much honey, and then they go to collect it and they get attacked by other bees. So people try to collect money and get so much money, and then others try to get it, and it happens. It's like right now, there's thousands and thousands of people in prison because they tried to get someone else's money. And quite often they're successful. Sometimes they're not. But just see how this desire to get money is so strong. They'll go into somebody else's home and they could even be killed. It happens. People get killed going in and try to get somebody else's money. Or they perform some crime. Now they have a big crime now is identity theft. It's actually the biggest crime now in the world, identity theft. It's huge. So they steal someone's identity and then they go into their bank account and get money. So there's so many ways that people are getting money. So they're getting stung. They're trying to collect wealth and it gets stolen from them. They're lamenting, oh, I had so much wealth. And sometimes people, they gamble. They gamble away. It's like I have one friend, one devotee in Australia, one friend, his brother works at a casino in Australia. And at this casino where this person worked, so many people were committing suicide that they had to put bars on the windows so that people couldn't jump out. Because they'd gamble all their money away and they'd be so disturbed, so upset that they'd just take their life. Gambling is one of the biggest vices. Gambling. People gamble away even their homes. Yudhisthira gambled away his wife and his brothers. Even he's such a great devotee, it's inconceivable. Just to give you an idea, and this is why one of the regular principles is don't gamble. But it's interesting, just on the side, a little side note here. Srila Prabhupada was speaking about this, and he said, actually, we're also gambling. Because we're giving our life, you're giving your life to Krishna, but you don't know what the result is going to be. We haven't a clue. We don't know what the result is going to be. So in one sense, it's a transcendental gamble. But we do know that even if we don't go back to Godhead, at least we're going to be in a good situation in our next life. So it's a small gamble. So many karmis are trying to collect wealth and they're getting stung. So therefore he says to this poor man, don't go there, you'll get stung. He says, don't also go to the western side. If you go to the western side of where this treasure is, there's many ghosts. And these ghosts are going to scare you so much that you'll not be able to touch the treasure. And this is compared to Mayavad philosophy. So much confusion is there in the Mayavad philosophy. I'm God, you're God, there's no God. One of their philosophies is, you take a piece of paper and you tear it up, little pieces, and then eventually, no more paper. The whole piece is gone. Now there's just parts. So this is what they say about God. God, He separated Himself. Now there's so many parts and parcels. There's no one supreme God. We are all God. So there's a lot of confusion in the Mayavad philosophy, and it's very bewildering. Lord Chaitanya said, if one hears the Mayavad philosophy, then one is doomed. Yeah. Prabhupada said these Mayavadis, they know the Bhagavad-Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam so well. If you speak to them, they'll bewilder you. They know so much. There's so much speculation. It's bewildering, it's scary. It's like Prabhupada, he translated the Bhagavad-Gita as it is. But there was hundreds of Bhagavad-Gitas already. Nobody became a devotee of Krishna from these other Bhagavad-Gitas because people are confused. People are confused. Dr. Radhakrishna, Prime Minister of India, scholar. It's not unto Krishna that one must surrender, but to the unborn within Krishna, as though there's a difference between the within and without. So there's a lot of confusion. It's scary. So don't go there. And if you dig on the northern side of where this treasure is, you're going to be devoured by a big black snake. And this is compared to mystic perfections. These mystic cities, they get these mystic cities and people become bewildered. They see all this magic. And people become bewildered, like, wow, they think he's God. They could manifest some gold. Oh, he's God. So, and these people, these mystic yogis, they become proud of their mystic abilities. Become very proud, and they actually start thinking that they're God. So they become devoured by the black snake of pride. But if you dig on the eastern side of where this treasure is, there you'll find the treasure. And that treasure is bhakti. This treasure has been left for you. He told the poor gentleman, this is where the real treasure is, bhakti. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya, you know, in the Shikshashtaka, we have these wonderful verses spoken by Lord Chaitanya. But in between these 8 verses, there's also very nice verses. And he says, Prema dana vanavyate daridra jivan, dasa kori vitanamore deha prema dana. He says, if one does not have love for Krishna in one's life, then one is considered to be a daridra jivan, which means a poor soul. A poor soul. Now Lord Chaitanya, he's playing the role of a devotee. So he prays to Krishna, my dear Lord Krishna, therefore please engage me in your service, and all I want as salary is love for you. This is the salary that devotees want. Money, that's dirty green paper. Or not here, it's not green here, it's brown, different colors, yeah. It's just dirty, it's actually very moochy, it's dirty, very dirty. And they have a saying that money is the root of all evil. Actually, money is not the root of all evil, but it's the way people use money which is the root of all evil. I have one friend, before he joined the movement, he had some difficulty with, following the regular principles. And he joined the movement and he's gung-ho, surrendering to Krishna, but then the old desires came back again. And he had some money and he was going to buy drugs. But Krishna took it away. Krishna took it away. Yashaham anugraname hirshita dhanamjana. To show special mercy to my devotee, I take everything away. So Krishna showed special mercy. So Krishna takes away wealth, and that's a blessing. But we can also use wealth in the service of Krishna. There's one pastime of Prabhupada where he was in one city here in India, and there was one newspaper article about this one yogi. And there was a picture of him in this newspaper, and he was making a show of renunciation. So there was a big pile of money in front of him, and he was like this. Showing that he's renounced wealth. So Prabhupada saw that and he said, nonsense. You can take a picture of me like this. Why? Because Prabhupada will use it in the service of Krishna. He won't use it for sense gratification. See, this is the problem with wealth. A lot of people, when they get wealth, they use it for their sense gratification. Even in Australia, there was one devotee. He went to the lottery and he made a promise to Krishna. Krishna, if I win, I'll give you half. He won, but he didn't give half to Krishna. He reneged. He didn't give it to Krishna. Nonsense. So, money can be a problem. It can be a problem, but it can also be a blessing. Like this temple. So much money is used to build this temple. We have so many temples, 600 temples now. We need money for that. So money can also be utilized in a very nice way. So, of course, devotees are satisfied. For ourselves, we don't need. We need money for things that for traveling and necessities. But other than that, we don't need. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya, playing the role of a devotee, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitang va jagadisha kame, mama janmani janman isve, bhavatad bhakti haitiki tvai. I don't want wealth. I don't want wealth. Everybody wants wealth practically in this world. Lord Chaitanya says, I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want people to worship me. I don't want people to look up to me. Apparently everybody wants that, be admired, name, fame, adoration. Practically everybody wants that also, this subtle sense gratification. And what is it called? Pratishta. False ego, false pride. It's difficult, very difficult to give that up. But Lord Chaitanya says, no, I don't want that. Not janam nasundaring. Kavitang va, no, nadanam najanam nasundaring. I don't want a beautiful wife. What man doesn't want a beautiful wife? No. There's some men, some renunciants that don't want a beautiful wife. Actually, it's even said that within one's family, there's enemies. If a man has a beautiful wife, she's an enemy. She's an enemy. Why? Because the man becomes bewildered by her beauty. He becomes very attached. He becomes very attached to his wife. Then, good chance, he's going to become a woman. Just like that whole story with the Jamya. Was it a Jamya? No. Was it? Anyway. So one becomes attached to a beautiful wife. The son is an enemy if he's a fool and a rascal, doesn't want to serve Krishna. The mother is an enemy if she divorces and marries again. The father is an enemy if he dies in debt. He dies in debt. Prabhupada told the story of one man died, and the son found out that his father had the debt. So he went to pay this man that he owed money to. And this man that he apparently owed money to said, no, your father didn't owe any money to me. No, I find in the records that he owes money to you. Here, take this. I have to pay his debt. Interesting. You don't find that in America. They accept the inheritance, but not the debt. And somebody even told me that it's a law in India. Does anybody know? Is that a law in India, that the son also has to pay the debt of the father? Anybody know? Anyway, someone told me that. So, Anyway, Nadanam Najanam Sundaring. So we don't even want to have a beautiful wife. So someone may say, well, you don't want money, you don't want followers, you don't want a beautiful wife. I mean, that's everything. What do you want? What do you want? I want love for Krishna. Birth after birth. He doesn't even want liberation. I just want to serve Krishna. Birth after birth. Very elevated. You see, Lord Chaitanya, he's the best devotee. So he's showing us the proper consciousness. There was one in the Bhagavatam, you'll find. Also there's one, the story of a person called Avanti Brahmana. This Avanti Brahmana was a very, very, very wealthy man, multi-millionaire, filthy rich, but he was very greedy. He wouldn't even spend any money on his family members, or even on himself. He just wanted to collect more and more money, more and more money. He just became mad with collecting, making more and more money. So, due to the workings of nature, the government took some taxes, thieves came, they took some, family members, they took some, and eventually he became a pauper. He had no money. Everything was taken away by the arrangement of Krishna. But in that very sad state that he was in, he developed detachment. He became detached. And he started inquiring about the absolute truth. So it was a blessing. Everything was taken away from him. So he became a devotee. He became a great devotee. And he was just traveling around in a very renounced state of mind. And he took the vow of silence. He took sannyas. And he was traveling around, and people were making fun of him. It's described in the Bhagavatam that they would pass urine on his food, they would spit on his head, they would tie him up. He's just a false renunciant, he's just acting like this, he's not really a devotee, and they would just mistreat him in so many ways. We can't imagine how he was mistreated. But he made an interesting statement. Actually, there's a whole song, the song of the Avanti Brahmana. And in this song, he says, these people, they are not the cause of my suffering. The demigods, they aren't the cause of my suffering. The planets, astrology, they're not the cause of my suffering. Time is not the cause of my suffering. Even this body, it's not the cause of my suffering. What is the cause of my suffering? The mind. The mind is the cause of suffering. Very interesting statement. Just like there's a nice statement in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Akinchyanasya dantasya santasya samachetasa maya santasya manasa sarvasukha maya dasa. That one who is free of all material desires, that's a big challenge, to be free of all material desires. But this verse says, one who is free of all material desires, whose senses are controlled. It's another big challenge, to control the senses. The mind, it's also considered to be like a subtle sense. Who's controlled the senses. Akinchyanasya dantasya santasya, who is peaceful. Santasya, akinchyanasya dantasya santasya samachetasa, who is equal towards all living entities, and who is satisfied in Krishna consciousness. Wherever such a person goes, he's only going to find happiness. Wherever he goes, he's only going to find happiness. Because his mind, his senses are under control. He's free of all material desires. He's equal towards all living entities. He's satisfied. This is when the mind is completely satisfied, completely joyful. So this is the state of being that one reaches eventually by practicing Krishna consciousness. So the mind is a big problem. And Krishna even says in the Bhagavad-Gita, Dorjyanam Mahammana. He says, of difficult things to conquer, I'm the mind. Very difficult to conquer the mind. And Arjuna says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pamati balavadvidham tasyaham nigrahanmane vayarem chadushka. He says to Krishna that this mind, it's chanchalam, it's going here, it's going there, it's going all over the place. Pramati, it's mad. The mind is mad. Srila Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the mind is a non-devotee. It's a non-devotee. So this is why sometimes it's difficult for us to be attentive in our japa, to be attentive in our reading, because the mind just doesn't want to hear it. Prabhupada said that devotional service means attention to the details. So our whole process is about being attentive in our devotional service. And from being attentive, we become attracted. We become attracted to Krishna. We want to be attracted to Krishna, right? But we also want Krishna to be attracted to us. And therefore, Srila Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said, don't try to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. So that's a pretty high level, but this is the goal. We want to act in such a way, not only physically, but mentally, because Krishna sees everything. There's no secrets. Just like there's an amazing pastime of Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was in Bangladesh, East Bengal. They were going to open a temple. And one householder was there, and he asked, actually no, this is in, I'm sorry, this was in Navadvip. So one householder asked his guru, Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, please forgive me if I'm seeing wrong or if I'm being offensive. But I noticed that your brahmacharis here, it doesn't appear like they're making much advancement. And he said, no, you're seeing properly. This is because they have two internal worms. Two internal worms by which they can't digest Krishna consciousness. Just like if we have worms in our intestines, you can't digest the food properly. It's a problem. So those two internal worms, one is secret bad habits. Secret bad habits. We're talking about back in the 30s. Back in the 30s, there was no internet, there was no movies, there was practically, I mean, I can't imagine what they were being, distracted. What was their secret? What was the secret Maya? But he said that. Secret bad habits. And the second one was selfishness. Selfishness. So this whole process is meant to help us become selfless. Selfless. In other words, doing things that are pleasing to Krishna. Always trying to do things that are pleasing to Krishna. And therefore in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna, he also says that one must deliver oneself. Udaratmanatmanam natmanam avasarya. Atmayavajapano bandhu atmayavaripratmana. One must deliver oneself with the help of the mind and not degrade oneself. The mind can be the friend of the living entity, or it could be its enemy. For one who has conquered the The mind is the best friend. And for he who has failed to do so, it's the worst enemy. For when he has conquered the mind, the super soul has already been reached. For him, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, it's all the same. So when is our mind our friend? When is our mind our friend? Our mind is our friend when we're always doing things that are pleasing to Krishna. Then we know our mind is our friend. If we do things that we know aren't pleasing to Krishna, then it's our enemy. Then it's our enemy. So we're getting so much nice guidance from Srila Prabhupada, from Krishna, on what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do. So if we always do the right thing, we're always doing things that are pleasing to Krishna, then we grow. Then we grow spiritually. So chanchalam hi mana Krishna pamati balavad. Balavad means that the mind is very strong. It's very powerful. Dridam, it's determined. And to control the mind is more difficult than to control the wind. The wind is so powerful. Who's the incarnation of the wind? Vayu. And Hanuman and Bhima and one Acharya. Who's the Acharya? Madhvacharya. Yeah. Madhvacharya. Very powerful. In America we have these states in the Midwest there. About 7 states. It's called Tornado Alley. And every year they have these tornadoes that come through these states because the warm wind of the Gulf of Mexico and the cold from north, from Canada, they come together and they create these tornadoes. And in these homes, millions of these homes, they have tornado shelters where they go down in this area under the house. You open the door, a tornado comes, you go down there, and you're protected from the tornado. And sometimes, when they open the door, after the tornado has gone by, they open the door and whole neighborhoods are gone. Dozens of houses are just gone. The wind is so powerful. More difficult than to control the wind. But what does Krishna say after that? Huh? He said, it's undoubtedly very difficult to control the mind, but it's possible by constant practice and by detachment. By practice and detachment. So we got to keep practicing, bringing the mind back. It has a tendency. It has that tendency to go off. Yato nischalati manushchunchulam astram tatastato niyamit atmanyeva samdaya. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must bring it back under the control of the self. We have to keep on bringing it back. And therefore we have this nice Hare Krishna mantra. It helps us connect again with Krishna. So we're very fortunate that we have this opportunity to purify the mind. Krishna says, Vedyam pavitram omkaram. Vedya means I'm the goal of the Ved. And pavitram, he says, I am that which purifies. Just like there's things that purify, or they have these machines, they purify water purifiers. It's a big thing now because the water is so dirty everywhere. There's water purifiers, there's air purifiers, right? Air is so dirty, there's air purifiers. And there's also consciousness purifiers. And what is that? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. iti sudasikam nama kalikam asanasanam nata paratropar sarvedeshu. That if one wants to be free of all the contamination of this age of Kali and counteract all the sins of Kali Yuga, there is no alternative than to chant this Hare Krishna mantra. This is how we can be completely purified of this contamination. The Hare Krishna mantra and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, very purifying. So wonderful. Bhagavatam is so wonderful. Prabhupada says in one purport, you could read the Srimad Bhagavatam thousands of times, and each time you read it, you're going to get new insight in the subject matter. Bhagavad-Gita, same way. They're very purifying just to hear these texts. And it's stated, Shrimbatam Svakata Krishna. Sri Krishna, the personality of God, was the Paramatma, the super soul in the hearts of all living entities. And the Paramatma, the super soul, cleanses the desire from the heart of the devotee who simply relishes his messages, which in themselves are virtuous and probably heard and chanted. So just see how kind Krishna is. All we have to do is hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, hear the Bhagavad-Gita, and relish it. If we do that, Krishna cleanses all the contamination from the heart. Just see how kind Krishna is. So we're so fortunate to have this knowledge, to have this mantra. We should also want to give it out to others. This is Prabhupada, I was just listening to a lecture. Prabhupada said, this is the most favorable thing that we can do that will please Krishna. It's just like there's favorable activities. Anukuyasya sankalpa, pratikuyasya varjana. This is the two types of surrender. Doing things favorable for devotional service. So Prabhupada said, this is the most pleasing thing to Krishna. Why? Because so many people are lost in this world, in darkness, bewildered. Just like imagine if there's a father with 6 sons, and one of these sons goes off and just becomes very degraded, committing crime and becomes an alcoholic, taking drugs, raping women. It just becomes just disgraceful. So that gives pain to the father. Right? Gives great pain to the father. So imagine one of the other sons goes out of his way to help this brother who'd gone off. He gets a flat and he brings his brother and he helps him along, puts him under his wing, takes care of him. After 6 months, he becomes a good person again. He takes him back to his father and is a good son again. Imagine how pleased the father is going to be with this good son that helped the bad son. Can't imagine, right? So Prabhupada says that Krishna is also feeling some pain because of all of his parts and parcels are suffering in this world. So if we go out of our way to help the bad sons and daughters back to their father, back to Krishna, Krishna is so pleased. We can't imagine. Therefore Prabhupada says, you want to please me? Distribute books. And one time he said, you can't repay me for what I've given you. I've given you Krishna. But if you want to try, then distribute books. So this is what the acharyas want. Nana Shastra Vichara Naikanipana Sadharma Sangstapaka. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they were scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing religious principles throughout the world. So that's what our society is all about. Sarva Sukhino Bhavantu. Our mission is to help everyone become happy again. What a nice mission. We have a nice mission. And it's happening all over the world. Devotees are surrendering to Krishna, becoming devotees. So, any questions or comments? Yes, Krishnamurti Prabhu.
What would you say, like, one or two examples of selfishness?
Selfishness.
Secret bad habits and selfishness. How would that apply in the real world?
Well, we all have comfort zones. Yeah, we have our apartment, and we can take it easy in our wherever it is we stay. We have our comfort zones. So one sign of selflessness is to step out of our comfort zone and go out and approach non-devotees to give them Krishna. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was so pleased if one of his disciples would go out and just distribute a few small books. And he was a very grave person. Even he was so grave that some disciples were like, some fear was there. He was so powerful, so grave. But that was a sure way to please Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to go out and give this knowledge to others. He also said this is the only lack in society, it's Krishna consciousness. So therefore he emphasized it so much. Preaching. If one has life, he said, then one will preach. So that's one sign of selflessness. And secret bad habits, back in the 1930s, I haven't a clue what that could be. But we know, in this age now, what can be secret bad habits. The internet is a major secret bad habit that devotees have. Right there in front of our face, we have the whole material world. The whole world of Maya right there. And some devotees aren't careful. And they go in the wrong place. And they get bewildered. Even sannyasis have gone the wrong place on the internet, become bewildered, give up sannyas. So I think everybody has access to the internet. So we have to be very, very, very careful where we go in the internet. Only our news channels are Dandavats, Christian.com, don't go anywhere else. Yeah. Just like everywhere in the world, there's the morning news. Right? So we have the morning news every morning, Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's so nice. It's all good news. It's all good news. And they read the newspaper, the karmis, they read the newspaper. It's all bad news. Nobody walks away inspired. Oh, that was great, man. That was fantastic. I'm so inspired now. It's all depressing. It's all bad news. And then they have the evening news, on the television. It's all bad news. We have the evening news, Bhagavad-Gita. It's all good news. So this is a good news. It's a good news movement. It's all good news. Any other question or comment? We have a question in the very back. Does the microphone go back that far? Oh, it's a wireless. Look at that. Way back, on the left side, on the left, way back there. Put your hand up there, Mataji. There it is.
Your attentiveness will also go.
Anybody understand what she said? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Yeah.
If you're in your comfort zone, you will be more attentive. If you're out of your comfort zone, mind going everywhere.
Oh, okay. So the question is, if you're in your comfort zone, it's easier to be attentive in your devotional service. But if you go out, then it's a little more difficult to be attentive. Well, that's true. So I was speaking about selflessness in the sense of going out and giving the message of Krishna to others. As far as your sadhana bhakti, you're right. It's the best place to do your sadhana bhakti is, actually Prabhupada said one time that to chant japa in the temple room is 1,000 times better than anywhere else. Because this is Krishna's room. This is his home. But yeah, if you have your home, you have a study room, it's easier to concentrate, to be attentive. For sadhana bhakti, you're right. But I was expressing to this devotee that the best way to show our highest selflessness is to, after we've done our sadhana, we've finished our sadhana, we've read Prabhupada's books, we've chanted our rounds, go out, leave your comfort zone, and bring that mercy that you've absorbed, give it to others. Because what happens when we chant our rounds and we have good sadhana, you create like a transcendental bubble. And people come in that bubble, and quite often they become transformed because of the bhakti, because of the sadhana bhakti that you practice. They feel it. I've even seen examples of people, they get a book from a devotee, and they walk by another devotee, and the person that got the book, he's walking by and he's saying to himself, why did I get that book? I don't even read books. So he goes into that bubble and doesn't know why he's doing it. So yeah, sadhana bhakti, yeah, best place, comfort zone. But to show our selflessness, go out to the people. And actually, eventually, what happens, if you really get into preaching, book distribution and preaching, you go out of that comfort zone and give people Prabhupada's books, that becomes a comfort zone for the soul. So I can tell you personally, my most wonderful experiences in this life have been on book distribution. So for some devotees, on book distribution, that's a comfort zone. It's a nice zone to be. Krishna likes that zone. Okay? One more question, and then we'll call it off. Yes, Prabhu. Okay, we need a microphone up here. I think it has to be detached from the cord. He has one right there.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is just a quick comment that trying to maintain material comforts separately from Krishna can distract the mind as well, that maintenance of material comfort.
Thank you very much for that comment. Yeah. So it's a little late. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His great Vijay ki.
Oh.